matters of security due to instability in the country for the past 20 years. But after the visit of His Excellency, that's the President of Somalia, that's Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, to Uganda, that was last week, where four memorandums of understandings were signed, and today we decide to investigate the possible opportunities Uganda has as a result of this partnership. Let's have this report.
Despite the security threats in Somalia, over 5,000 Ugandans are working in that country in different areas of economic activities like air aviation, oil and gas, construction, education, and security. However, even exporters have opportunities that they must tap into to enjoy the benefits of the Memorandum of Understanding that was signed.
Many opportunities there, but it's mainly agro-based, as we can see. That's where we have the niche. We have areas to do with the milk and dairy products. We also have fruits. We have sugar. We have areas of minerals, mineral expertise, and education. Education, we are doing very well, by the way.
However, the Ugandan business community has been assured of the stability of the country and encouraged to start business in Somalia.
That were the great thanks to UPDF and the African Transition Mission in Somalia, which they have tried to pacify some of the areas. Some of the areas, as you've been seeing on the presentation during the business summit, have been seen that like real estate is developing. What was there before, there is pacification, and also there are this kind of progress. They had recently peaceful elections, which you wouldn't expect to have taken. So I believe there is some good progress. But we're also having Somalis who are coming here to trade here. We are quite getting a lot of revenue from the Somali companies here. So why not reciprocate and also have them Ugandans establish in Somalia?
Somalia has renewed interest in joining the East African community as much as the bloc initially refused the application.
Market. That's why our president made it candidly and emphatic that Uganda will support Somalia to join East Africa and will be an eighth nation after DRC. So once we open up, when we trade within ourselves, and that's when we'll find opportunities, what they can do, and we'll assess our comparative advantage, what Uganda has most and what Somalia has most. So Somalis have a good at, for example, ICT and financial services.
Uganda-Somalia relations, and of course we investigated the possible opportunities Uganda has in regards to this partnership with Somalia. And of course, let's have a little brief analysis regarding Uganda-Somalia. Let's understand what is really Somalia, and basing on the statistics that were last updated, that was in 2020 in Somalia. Somalia exported, that was about 2020 when the statistics were last updated, and of course we are waiting for the current statistics, but let's have a brief review regarding Uganda, Somalia, and also Somalia, Uganda. And in 2020, like I said, Somalia exported, that was about 75.7K, that's US dollars, to Uganda. So you can see that. And the main products that Somalia exported to Uganda were processed fish, that's processed fish, insulated wire, there is light and mixed woven cotton, and of course, you see, that's the advantage agriculture. Ghana being an agriculture country, there could be some opportunities it can tap into Somalia. That's the mixed woven cotton. It's really cotton much on demand, most especially in the areas of the East African region. And during the last 25 years, the exports of Somalia to Uganda have increased at an annualized rate of 16. That's 16%. That's because when we compare 1995, that's to 2020, that's the 16% rise. And of course, back still in 2020, Somalia did not export any services to Uganda. You remember that was due to the COVID-19 pandemic that really disrupted quite a lot of transactions amongst the countries and also the countries in East Africa in particular. Okay, and now in comparison, if we are to see that in 2020, Somalia, of course, we need to understand what country is Uganda getting into a relationship with. Yes, like I told you, we are reviewing the statistics of 2020 that were last updated in 2020. And of course, Somalia, that was in 2020, was ranked 173. Ranked 173 in total exports, and the total exports actually the country had were $276 million US. Yes, and of course regarding the economic complexity and index. And that very same year, that was 2020, Uganda ranked 99 in the economic complexity and 108 in total exports that were worth 5.8. Of course, billion US. So we are making comparison Uganda, Somalia, because at the end of the day, we need to understand how the benefit, it's a 50-50 benefit, of course, on that. And of course, maybe just to finalize a little bit, the countries which Somalia normally exports, because when a country gets into a partnership with another country, there stands an advantage of also, if Uganda is partnering with Somalia, for example, Uganda gets a chance to tap into the countries that Somalia trades with. And of course, most of these countries are the Asian countries. Of course, here I can see as United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Japan, Bulgaria, and China. So you see Uganda, of course, Uganda is already in ties with China, but it gets a chance to open two new markets because of dealing with a country that trades with those markets. And that's it for the Somalia-Uganda, a little brief of analysis. And now let's get into the shoe business. The increasing prices of shoes due to the high taxes imposed on imported shoes have led to the growing scarcity that is of genuine and quality shoes in the market. Traders who import shoes from China have shared grievances on how taxes have affected their business transactions. Let's have this report.
While presenting the budget speech for the financial year 2022 to 2023, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development noted that the second half of the financial year 2021 to 2022 was characterized by a significant increase in prices for some of the essential commodities and services. This in turn increased the overall inflation from 2.7% in January this year to 6.3% in May, which has led to the decline in the consumption of shoes, thus leaving many businesses at stake, as traders explain.
Olw'omusolo gwe mbadde muwulira nti luli twasitikulanga ebintu nga tutikula ku 25% import duty.
We are facing challenges with taxes, and the shoe business has changed where now we are charged 35% import duty from 25%, just like for textiles. This shows an increase in the import duty.
Obuzibu bwali nti singali nti abakaseeko naffe tuba tusobola okukola ki tusobola okumalako naye embeera.
We have another problem with rent and high taxes, where most of the people don't have money to buy shoes. In a day, you can sell 5 pairs than before. We even increased the prices of the shoes to 40,000 shillings from 25,000 shillings.
Kati nga tuzitunda wakati w'emitwalo 4 n'ekitundu.
The increase is attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic, overall global shortages, drastic increase in demand following the opening up of the economy, and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Nonetheless, many actors continue calling on the government to intervene in the rising prices of the essential commodities. I wish the government reduces taxes and also speak to our landlords to reduce the rent, because as we speak now, the situation is not good at all. That's what even causes us to go and sell on the streets, but we wish for the situation to turn back to normal and we can continue with our businesses. In financial year 2021 to 2022, URA had a revenue collection target of 22.4 trillion shillings, but while releasing the tentative results, the authority indicated that they had achieved a collection of 21.6 trillion shillings. Of this, about 63% were domestic tax revenue collections, while 37% were customs collections. The lion's share is from the wholesale and retail trade sector.
There has been an initiative to protect the consumers, most especially the industries that manufacture local products. And we have quite a number of such industries in the East African bloc that manufacture these shoes. And some of these moves are intentional to protect the domestic producers to ensure that these reduce competition. And of course, still it affects the shoe traders, as you have seen, the taxes that have risen to quite a big percentage. So they're trying to find ways they can get into the business. But at the same time, it's probably what it could be done. They could shift to making, getting the local manufactured, that's the shoes, to ensure that they can add on to their stock, to ensure that we grow the East African bloc. Because at the end of the day, once we focus on the domestic produced products, it has a chance, as an East African community, it has a chance to boost the currency. That's the shilling, which unites the countries into the East African bloc. And it will gain some good value against other reserve currencies right there. And as we head into the border census, yes, as the border riders express their dissatisfaction regarding the ongoing census, yes, launched by the Deputy Executive Director of the Kampala City Council Authority, that's Dorothy Chisaka. This is due to the delayed arrival of the KCCA authorities to conduct the census. Let's have this report.
David Luyimbazi, the Deputy Executive Director of KCCA, yesterday launched the border census exercise that is to run for 14 days to regulate border riders to operate in the city.
As you're aware, today we kick off the process of streamlining border operations in the city. This follows the directive we received, which was highly publicized by the Right Honorable Prime Minister on the 26th of July. Wherein we were instructed and directed that we should have the border industry streamlined and organized by the 1st of September 2022. And in line with the directive, hence the actions you see us undertaking, beginning with the census, border census, which is beginning today. KCCA, in conjunction with key stakeholders, that is the Ministry of Kampala and Metropolitan Affairs, Ministry of Works and Transport, Ministry of Security, and the Office of the President, commences the border census today, 15th of August 2022. The census exercise will involve all borders. That is the motorcycles themselves and the riders operating in Kampala capital city. That is in the 5 divisions.
Smart 24 TV went ahead and reached out to the centers where registration was issued. Surprisingly, the launched census was not on. Most of the riders were stranded, as they say.
Kwakati batulalika tulina okwewandiisa olunaku olwaleero.
It's very discouraging. They told us about this registration being today, but nothing is being done here. We left our jobs. There are many times we have registered. We don't know what was the right moment.
Bandivuddeyo ne batubuulira ekituufu kye ki.
Truth is, it has affected me. I request the authorities in charge to prepare so as to come when they are ready.
Speaking to the mayor of Kampala Central, he sided with the border industry players, saying that KCCA did not take full responsibility for the task assigned.
Very unfortunate. We are here to Bat Valley Primary School. I expected the exercise to move on as per the guidelines, but it's very unfortunate. The border people are very annoyed they have little time and they wanted to come and register. And that's what we were crying all along. We don't want to cause any inconveniences to the border riders. People are looking for money. The economy is tight. So I will not accept any more incompetence by KCCA.
Border registration began earlier this year, and up to date, it has not been successful as expected by the authorities.
And that's from Bat Valley, where the border census was taking place. And of course, Bat Valley being one of the places that the census, where the registration was going to be. In Kampala, of course, we have a number of divisions, and each division, they are responsible people that were attached to register these borders. And Bat Valley being one of the places in the central Bat Valley and old Kampala. Yes, as we, of course, we once said, I was there yesterday and I saw quite so many grievances that of the border people saying, you know, we have lost money. Perhaps right now I would have made about 10,000 shillings, and that was quite unprofessional, according to them, from the authorities that were supposed to take responsibility of their exercise. And of course, in other areas like Rubaga Division, they started earlier. Yeah, because still, while on ground, there were communications across the different divisions, and I guess Rubaga was the first people. They kept the time to ensure that they put the registration process on time. But those were the grievances that the border industry players were expressing towards the authorities, saying, oh, really? And also there is this comment that they made throughout the time that we have registered so many times. So they are wondering, okay, all these other times, what have we been registering? And they feel like they're being taken for granted. They're not being respected. Their job is not given respect as they ought to. But among other grievances, okay, besides the grievances, among other messages they passed on to that despite being registered, they need to have the life in Kampala, and they were requesting the government to ensure that it invests money into their circles to ensure that they can have a good living, and also subsidizing the prices of the motor vehicles, the motorcycles that they use as a request in addition to the registration and the census. And now we get to the wetlands, the state of wetlands in Uganda. With Uganda's expanding economy and booming population, the choice between the conservation of wetlands and the development of business becomes a very difficult choice to make. On the June 7th, that was 2022, during the State of the Nation's address, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni directed those seeking to encroach wetlands and forests to vacate as soon as possible, or else they all get prosecuted. Let's have the details of this report.
According to the information that was presented during the celebration of the World Wetland Day in February 2022, the Uganda's wetlands cover is declining from 15.6% in 1994 to 13% in 2019, arising from poor resource planning, but also shifting cultivation, including rice growing, grazing, brick making, and harvesting raw materials for building houses. Wetlands are one of the most productive ecosystems in the world. They provide benefits to humans and the environment. Despite their value, wetlands are being degraded at unprecedented rate. President Yoweri Museveni has always been warning the general public against encroaching on the wetlands.
I warned all sub-county and Miruka chiefs, as well as cows, not to forget the environment officers, the GSOs and the DSOs, manning areas where I will discover encroachment on wetlands will be sacked, and if legally possible, also criminally prosecuted.
Following the President's directive, the Minister for Investment, Evelyn Anite, says that they have not licensed any factory in wetlands.
I will tell you right from the time we received this directive last year, we have not licensed any new factory in the wetland. We work very, very closely with NEMA in our biggest industrial park, which sits at 2,200 acres of land, Namamve. We have preserved the green belts. We have preserved the wetlands, and therefore we are coexisting. Where our factories are largely on the dry lands, and therefore we're not licensing, and we stop backfilling in the areas where there is wetland, clear, visible wetland. We have mapped them out to preserve them. But we have been under directive to get more land, dry land, without any encumbrance, and we've gotten them. My chairman will tell me the statistics. DG, do you have the number?
6.7 square miles.
We have 6.7 square miles of dry land. So there is no need for any industrialist to put a factory on a wetland, given that we have 6.7 square miles unencumbered, just ready waiting for industrialization.
They want to get out of the car and start fighting. These are areas I know very well. They must get out. Those swamps had nobody who was in those swamps.
Wetland degradation has been a severe environmental problem since the 1970s, despite the multiple values wetlands provide. Wetlands are a source of clean water, further construction materials, and they sustain biodiversity.
Animal being washed away, that's by the floods, and of course that comes as a result of degrading wetlands. However much we are promoting development, but it's important to know that Uganda stands on agriculture, and part of agriculture is animal, of course, raising animals, and so that's really, you can see the great impact that the floods had to the people that had their livestock. Yes, and now, of course, as we wrap up, we started all the way from Uganda, Somalia, as we were assessing the benefits, the possible opportunities Uganda has as a result of its relations with Somalia. We came over to the shoe business players complaining about the high taxes, and then after we crossed over to the border census, as the border industry players were passing out their grievances regarding to the delayed of the authorities, the authorities delaying to keep time, and finally we wrapped it up with the state of wetlands in Uganda, as the president was urging, back to that report of urging the people that are staying onto the wetlands to vacate, or else they will be prosecuted. And that's it for the recap. Jerome Paul Sonko is right here to drive you through smart means business, and I'll be joining you on smart means business on ground. Good morning, stick around.